All right, Coach. You're coming off a phenomenal season. One of the, depending on who you talk to, maybe one of the best overall seasons in Nebraska high school football history. How do you kind of feel about last year as it really sunk in just how good you guys were?
I'm very thankful. To have the opportunity to work with that much talent was very fun. We started 9 of those kids as sophomores, and each year they actually got a little bit better. We were 9-2 as sophomores. They were 10-2 as juniors, and they were able to go 13-0. We just had some wonderful games. For a class to go 45-4 is pretty crazy. Now, we got to get back to the real world here and see what's going to happen. I've been using the phrase reload or rebuild. I'm hoping reload. We have a lot of young talent. That's what a lot of people don't understand. We didn't play all seniors. We started 5 sophomores again. We had multiple juniors that played a huge role. So it might look a little bit different. I think we're going to be a little bit more defensively driven like we were this year, and maybe not quite as explosive, but we still expect to put up a lot of points.
And that was maybe one of the biggest things that I think people may have overlooked is just how good you guys were defensively. The offense obviously always puts up a lot of numbers, but defensively, when you look at just how little teams scored on you guys, how big was that?
I think it's amazing. A lot of people complain about spread offenses because the defense has to play so much more. So we are a spread offense, and we do score rather quickly. So our kids were able to do that, and the coaches under Coach McVay were able to coordinate that. And they're playing a lot more defense than most schools do, and that was impressive. And it was really neat. I was doing some stuff for the state finals, getting all the yardage and everything together because, really Max Preps only covers so many points. They only gave up 100 rushing yards in one game out of 13. And to think about that, that's a borderline insane because a lot of teams that we played were run heavy. So I was really impressed. And that didn't happen until the quarterfinals. Burke, I think, had 108 yards. So to hold, 12 out of 13 opponents under 100 yards rushing is crazy because it is hard to throw the ball in high school. Now, we spend a lot of time, learning how to throw the ball, so our kids get a good workout on that. But what a fun year to watch. And I tell you what, it makes it a little bit easier knowing you don't have to score 50 to win.
Yeah. Now, you're no stranger to having some talent that being recruited. You got another batch of guys coming up. Maybe start with Keegan Johnson, who had a phenomenal sophomore to junior season. What does he bring to the team, and what do you kind of project for him as a senior?
I think my favorite thing about Keegan is at the end of the day, he wants to win. And I think that's an undervalued character trait for recruits. They need kids that winning is uber important, almost to the point where losing is worse than, I hate losing way more than I enjoy winning. And that's a sickness, but I think the great ones all have that, and I think Keegan has that as well. Kind of what we have looking forward, Keegan, we do have a goal that we've already talked about. We want to lead the state in yards from scrimmage. I'm gonna use him very similar to what Coach Frost uses Wandale Robinson. Now the difference is Keegan at 186 pounds is already bigger than Wandale. Now I don't know if he's as fast, but time will tell. He's doing everything he can in the weight room, and then he'll do track again this spring to get as fast as he can. But we're going to use him at wideout. He'll move to the outside spot. We're going to use him at running back. And our goal is to lead the state in yards from scrimmage and hopefully points. And, we like to score a lot of those. But he's still going to play some defense. If we were to play this Friday, he would start both ways. And I honestly don't believe in that. He was the only kid on our roster last year that played any time at both. He played about 20 to 25 downs at safety. And you saw his clips. Man, when he was in there, he was making things happen. I'm hoping another kid steps up so he doesn't have to do that and only, like this year, only play on certain downs and distances. But only time will tell. But that kid is a special talent.
Now, where do you see him projecting at the next level? What are you hearing from coaches, too?
Oh, it's really split. I know Iowa State loves him on defense, and they've been on him the longest. I've got to give credit where credit's due. They were first, and they liked him early. They blew me up at a 40th wedding anniversary, and I finally said, guys, you got to quit talking to me. I'm going to get killed by my wife here. And that's a joke, Lori. She got mad at me because I said some things in an interview earlier this year. I'm like, Lori, I think they know I'm all kidding. But I had to get off the phone with them because they were going crazy. I know Nebraska likes him at receiver, but I've told them, hey, whatever you want. Iowa is the same way. And there's people paying super, super close attention to him. So I don't know. I don't know the truth. Obviously here, as the head coach, I do the offense. Man, I like having those playmakers in purple on offense because, man, scoring is fun. Scoring gets more kids to want to play. As cool as a 12-10 win is, man, 35 to 31 is way more exciting. So he's going to play offense first, and then we'll see about the whole how much defense. It might be every down. Who knows? He'll be capable to do it though.
Okay, staying on offense, a kid you told us about last year that was an up-and-coming guy, or a couple guys, but we'll start with Kaden Helms. Tremendous size and really had a tremendous sophomore year for you. What does he bring to the team, and what do you see for him going forward?
Well, the first thing, the eyeballs, man. Gosh, he is a huge and long human being, and he just got so much better. His tenacity on the edge, and we make a big deal about being able to block in the perimeter game, because if you're going to go spread and run the ball like we do, our receivers have to block. I mean, there's no question about it. And we point blank tell them if they're not going to block, they're not going to play. Now, we're lucky enough to have enough talent where we can come through with that threat, right? We have guys, and they want to play. The biggest compliment I'm going to give Kaden Helms, it's going to be a bummer for him, but we were playing Millard West in the semifinals, and we ran a concept that we call blackjack, and we had thrown the sail route every single time. Well, the way Millard West defended it, it opened up the post, and it was Kaden. And unfortunately, it went through his hands. We would have been up by 3 scores in the second quarter, probably would have changed the whole outcome, and he was heartbroken. But my offensive line coach texted me the next day, said, "I can't believe Keegan dropped that ball." And I said, "What ball?" He goes, "That post." I go, "That wasn't Keegan, that was Kaden." So the fact that he's not only been able to get more physical, but his speed has increased to the point that one of our own coaches thought it was Keegan. I mean, I think the sky's the limit for that kid as he continues to get more physical, continues to be a bigger part. He'll move to the outside now, which, as you guys know, you've watched us long enough, they're going to get some shots when they're on that outside receiver. I can't wait to see. He should be a matchup nightmare for any corner, and especially in the red zone. I've been some time this whole winter is about learning tight end plays for Micah Riley and getting some red zone stuff to Helms.
And what is his growth potential, do you think? How big do you think he ends up being?
Well, I know those doctor they got him looking like he's going to be like Gigantor, but who knows? I mean, he's already 6'4", 6'5". I stand them up next to each other all the time, and it seems like they're growing all the time. His mom is a nutritionist, so I mean, they're going to have the best, things that he can eat. So he's going to maximize that. I just can't wait. It's all going to come down, to how fast he really runs. And, he's got great hands, great length, and people really like him already. I think there's going to be a lot of people beating down, 1501 Thurston Avenue.
Okay, another big time and big offensive playmaker is Micah Riley, who also has a lot of early attention. Tell me a little bit about him.
That guy's making me learn tight end plays, for goodness sakes, man. It's been pretty fun. I've had a fun winter doing that. I always go into the off season with some goals, and that's my number one, to be honest with you. Micah is talented enough to also split out. I mean, we played him in a slot all year long. The thing that I like about it, because I know our defensive coaches stare at other teams, and if they're going to bring in a different package, then they change our defensive package. With Micah, I don't have to do that. Okay, I can have a tight end set. I can have him go out and play the slot. It was my plan anyways to play the bigger kids at slot this year because of all the outside zone and jet sweep that we like. I got tired of those outside linebackers beating up on our smaller guys. So he really fit into that role really well. And then as the season went along, his tight end blocking, usually it's the other way around with young kids. Oh, they love running their routes. They love doing this, and they can't block. Micah's opposite. He is an animal in the blocking game, and the reason we were so successful running the ball in the playoffs is we ran primarily tight end sets to give us an extra blocker in the box, and he's able to scoop, he's able to get out on outside linebackers, he's great at double team. The kid he's tough. And that's a good trait. Now, he needs to continue to work on his speed, and I know he's going to do some things as soon as basketball's over with his speed development, because, man, if he can get another step, he is going to not just be a regional recruit, he'll be a national recruit.
At the next level, is he an inline tight end, or is he kind of a hybrid guy? I mean, what do you see?
Right now, to be real honest with you, I'd put him as an inline tight end because he doesn't have that breakaway speed to be the guy they flex out. Now, college is a lot different. You flex out a tight end guy, they don't put a corner out there with him. They're going to put a linebacker. I like that matchup. We're blessed, though. This Omaha football has been so good. And we played against Noah Fant at South every year that he was down there. Heck, we played him as a sophomore when he was at Burke. So I know what that kid looks like. And I coached his brother Chris. So I've known the family. So if I were to compare those two, right now, I would feel as high school players. I mean, I'm not doing that, but as a high school player, Mike is a better blocker, but Noah was a much better receiver. But Micah wants to be great, and I can't imagine him not putting in the work he needs to reach that.
That was kind of my next question with Micah and Kaden, getting attention so early. I mean, where are they at in their kind of their progression as sophomores compared to some other big-time guys that you've had in the past?
It's amazing how things really, really follow each other. So a lot of the questions I get were, how does Keegan compare to CJ and Cade and all that stuff? And it's something and you've heard me say it, Keegan likes the weight room. And his brothers, they were here but didn't get into it till they got into college. And now Keegan has, and he's got because he passes the eyeball test. Well, that has a trickle-down effect. Now Micah Riley sees Keegan, working out like that. Kaden Helms does. Caden Camise, LJ, I call him Les Richardson. He doesn't like the Les old man name. I love it. I've named my daughter Evelyn, for goodness sakes. But those guys all see, okay, well, wait a minute. If I bust my butt in the weight room, I start to look a certain way, man, I'm going to get these offers. Because you have to admit, we've had the talent here, and everybody's kind of scratched their head at, well, why didn't they get these offers? Why didn't they get these? Well, it's the eyeball test. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it is there. So our guys are getting to see this firsthand, and it's really changed the dynamic of the weight room. We've always worked out hard, but these guys, they're getting after it longer and staying longer, getting extra reps in instead of just maybe stretching. It's been cool to see the domino.
Okay, now defensively, Kirke was a big standout for you, very active linebacker. What does he mean to the team, and how is his recruitment going?
Well, we just finished up our 7th season here at Bellevue West, and we've had one junior captain, and his name is Kirke. That's the kind of player that we're bringing to the table. He plays middle linebacker. He made all the defensive calls and checks. Okay, so he's got the intelligence. He's got the leadership intangibles that these colleges look, and they just can't get over his size and length. Now, ultimately, we're going to have to see how fast he is, because there's a lot of guys that have that size and length that are playing, Power 5 football. If he puts it together another year, has a great camp season like we think that he will, I can't wait to see, because you just don't build human beings like that. Boy, he runs so well. Boy, he likes to hit. He's violent, and in football, violence good, So I'm excited to see. I'm also excited. I've never had an inside linebacker that was a Power 5 or even Group of 5 guys. My best guys at linebacker have all been D2 or NAIA guys. So I'm super excited to see how this plays out. And I'm honest with the coaches. That's one thing the coaches keep coming back here for. I don't ever lie to them. So I ask them, where's Kirke? Where do you see him? I've never had that player. Where I've had receivers, guys. I've had running backs. I've had quarterbacks go different levels. I have a pretty good idea. I was lucky enough to coach Easton Stick in the Shrine Bowl, so I got to see what that looks like. Now, there's a big difference between the NFL and Power 5 and Group of 5 football. Not everybody's Easton Stick, but being able to see those guys, you can compare. You can talk about, yes, where are they at compared to the other guys? And the coaches listen. And I'm not going to BS people. If I don't think a guy can do it, I'm going to tell him. I tell them all the time, well, you get the big bucks, man. You're the ones whose mortgages depend on it. I'm not getting fired. Some bad stuff would have to happen, and I like my job too much. I'm not going to do that, right? Those guys have to make some hard choices sometimes.
Now, who are some other standouts that are going to mean a lot to your team heading into next year?
Well, our overall best defensive football player is Jack McDonald. He was a first-team All-Nebraska kid, but unfortunately, you got to pass the eyeball test. You got to have some certain size. Jack is all of 5'9", 170 pounds, one of the baddest human beings you've ever met in the world. But sadly, that player doesn't go to the Big Ten. That player probably doesn't get to the Missouri Valley. Now, I've told every Division II school that comes through that he needs to be the #1 guy on your board, because that's how those guys keep their mortgages. They find guys that should be playing D1 but don't have the measurables, because this kid is an absolute stud. I really like some of the young guys that I introduced you to today. Les Richardson is going to be our next running back. This kid, I've never had a kid that's 210 pounds at running back. Bradley was 191. Ducker was 194. They are both shiftier. LJ got to play quite a bit early on in the season because Ducker was battling some nerve issues in his knee. And when he was playing against the other team's top units with our top line, they really struggled to block him. Now, he needs to improve on his overall speed. He's running track. And I said, you got to run track on purpose, not just go out because the sweat clothes are comfortable. Okay, so I think after a track year on purpose, I think he's going to be the next guy. You're like, oh my gosh, where do these guys keep getting these running backs? It's a nice place to play running back. The spread offense, people better go cover those fast dudes out there. And so you usually get some pretty advantageous numbers. I really like Caden Camise, defensive lineman. He was so good as a sophomore. We played him at defensive end at that size, and he stood out. We're going to move him down inside where the big fellas live and breathe, and I think he's going to be dominant. He loves the weight room. He's always getting extra reps. And then Henry Rickles, our offensive tackle, right tackle, a basketball kid. has great feet. Wasn't strong enough to play for us this year because of all the basketball that they've played over the years. He had good enough feet and was able and smart enough to understand. I think with another year, he's at almost 260. He's gaining weight during basketball. Coach Woodard must be slacking, but I think he's going to be a special talent.
All right, Coach. Good luck next year.
Oh, I can't wait, man.